for Tuesday, April 22nd, 2025, Earth Day, will now come to order. Since we have a moderate attendance today, I will not give the full warnings from previous meetings, but please note that all of the warnings from the prior meetings remain in effect for today's meeting. The clerk will please call the roll.
Good evening, everyone. As a reminder to all in attendance, this meeting is being recorded and live streamed on the county's YouTube page. Calling the roll, Ms. Turner.
Present.
Mr. Hauser.
Here.
Ms. Simon.
Here.
Mr. Kelly.
Here.
Mr. Sweeney.
Present.
Mr. Castleberry is absent. Mr. Gallagher. Mr. Schlepper.
Here.
Ms. Conwell.
Present.
Mr. Jones.
Here.
Council President Miller.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you very much. Everyone, please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So at this point, I would like to invite everyone to join us in a moment of silent meditation in memory of Detective Anthony Matejevich, Cuyahoga County Sheriff's Office, and on behalf of Pope Francis. Thank you very much. The next item on our agenda is public comment. Do we have people signed in to speak to us tonight?
Evan O'Reilly.
Good to see you again. My name's Evan O'Reilly here representing the Cuyahoga County Jail Coalition. I wanted to, I know there are a couple agenda items about extending contracts and things being visited this evening. Over the past 6-7 months, we've been working with Ms. Demansky-Diaz from the Executive's Office on focus groups around how to build a more humane facility. I think those have been productive in terms of generating ideas. However, it is increasingly our feeling that in the midst of a really acute fiscal crisis, which has already led to some cuts and some freezes, it would be prudent to revisit the question of restricting the sales tax funding to only capital expenses on the jail. It really seems like that's a funding source that's already been created that could fill some holes in Health and Human Services funding that's now under threat. Our position is that we would really like to see the ordinary care of our community maintained and prioritized over the construction of the new jail if those kinds of priorities are having to be chosen. And it feels as though they are. Thank you for your time, and hopefully we can continue to have some discussions about this over the coming months.
Essie Williams.
President Miller and fellow council members, good evening. I'm here in opposition.
Ms. Williams, if you could state your name for the record and just pull the microphone down a little bit more towards you.
Okay. My name is Essie Williams, and I'm here to speak in opposition of any money, public money, going to the Haslam's Group to build a stadium in Brook Park. Is the Haslam Group taking us to federal court to force us to pay $1.2 billion in addition to their legal fees? Since 2020, the Haslam Group has spent $1,145,000 on candidates and ballot issues in Ohio. $100,000 went to top legislative leaders several months prior to the Haslams making the $600 million request. State House Speaker Matt Hoffman received about $61,000 in 2024. However, since 2020, he has received a total of $110,000. Senate President Robert McCauley received about $59,000 in 2024. State Senate Finance Chair Jerry Serino received $15,000, and Allison Russo received $2,500. Now, if this group is successful in getting the stadium built, where will the funds come from, and what will be the cost to demolish the present stadium? We, the poor taxpayers, are already supplementing Sherwin-Williams to the tune of $100 million. We are also committed to building a jail in Garfield, and the cost has risen to $900 million, and no shovel has gone in the ground as of yet. How long will you allow the voiceless, the poor, the left out, the downtrodden to be bled dry by these major corporations? Thank you for listening.
Jesse Howell.
Good evening, council members. My name is Jesse Howells, and I live on downtown's Public Square, and we've lived there with my wife for the past 16 years. Speaking today, not as a policy expert or a politician, but as a concerned citizen whose life has been directly shaped by witnessing what happens on our streets. A few years ago, my wife was assaulted downtown. It was random, it was traumatic, and for a long time afterward, we didn't feel safe in our own neighborhood. We considered leaving and almost did, but something changed when we started seeing the sheriff's deputies patrolling, talking to people, and showing up consistently. And slowly, we felt a little safer. Now I'm hearing that this council is considering pulling the sheriff's downtown safety patrol, and I'm asking you, please do not defund the county sheriff. Since the sheriff's presence in 2023, this unit has removed nearly 300 illegal firearms, 65 of which were tied to violent crimes like homicides and assaults. They've made over 100 felony arrests, intercepted nearly $200,000 tied to drug sales, and conducted nearly 5,000 traffic stops. That's not just presence, that's action. That's a measurable impact. And yes, there was a tragedy in March. It was heartbreaking, but to dismantle an entire unit that's been making the city safer because of one incident is reactionary and dangerous. The answer isn't to walk away from downtown, but to improve oversight, refine policy, and keep investing in what's working. Councilman Gallagher says the county isn't responsible for Cleveland, but we all know downtown Cleveland is more than just a city jurisdiction. It's the economic and cultural heart of our region, and if we let it fall apart, we make it harder to live, work, or visit here, and everyone in Cuyahoga County pays the price. If this patrol unit is defunded, it's not politicians who will feel it first. It's people like my wife and I, the small business owners, the downtown workers, the dog walkers, the very people who are trying to keep downtown alive. We don't need less protection, we need more. I'm urging you to vote against this resolution and don't take away one of the few things that's actually helping. Thank you.
Don Bryant.
I'm Don Bryant from Cuyahoga County. On February 22nd, I sent a letter to the Citizens Advisory Council on Equity, and it says, at the February meeting of the Cuyahoga County Council, a blatant racist abduction occurred. And the reason I'm reading this is because I've never been responded to in 40 days since I sent this letter. So in any case, the February meeting of the Cuyahoga County Council, a blatant racist abduction occurred. 2 people caused alleged disruptions at the start of the meeting, were treated vastly differently according to their race. An African-American man who made a wailing sound at the start of the Pledge of Allegiance to the U.S. American flag was quickly silenced by police action. 2 officers were at his side in seconds. He was wrestled to the ground by more officers, handcuffed, arrested, and jailed. 5 or more officers were involved in his abduction. A second verbal disruption followed the first. It was spoken by a white man. It was directly related to the treatment administered to the black man. It continued for at least 1 minute loudly. One officer was assigned to the white man. He told him that he would have to leave the meeting, calling him sir. He did not handcuff the man. He barely touched the man until they reached the exit when the officer put his hand on the man's shoulder. The white man told the officer to remove his hand, which he did, and refrained from any further physical contact. The officer told 2 other officers to escort the white man from the premises. In my letter, I asked that the Equity Commission investigate and file a public report regarding this occurrence. As I said, I still haven't heard back from my February 22nd letter, emailed a couple times to them. County Council, time's up. On Tuesday, July 20th, unanimously approved the declaration that racism is a public health crisis.
Colin Saikon.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Colin Saikon. I'm with the Labor's Local 860. We represent heavy highway and infrastructure construction here in Cuyahoga County, as well as public sector employees. Approximately 700 county employees, and almost 200 of which are the men and women of the Sheriff's Department here with us today. These men and women work tirelessly, long hours, trying to make sure that this area is safe. In light of what's happened with the unfortunate accident, I don't want to see a plug pulled. I hope that somehow we could find a resolution to continue. Right now, in law enforcement, there is problem staffing departments, and the departments are doing a great job working hand in hand, helping each other out. I just think that we should explore a lot of options before we jump to any one conclusion. Thank you.
Linda Howard.
Hi, good evening, Council and President. My name is Linda Howard. I'm Young Mothers of Cleveland. I'm sorry, I'm a little nervous, but I'm here today to just kind of learn the process, I think, of county. I have already started the application process to see how I could be able to retrieve some type of funding. So I do shared living and transitional housing for young mothers in the Cleveland area and other surrounding counties also. I have 3 different shared living and transitional places, and just trying to figure out like the funding process of it now. Due to myself paying everything out of my pocket, me and my team have sat down and came up with a budget of all the money that we have spent. And the majority of the women that I house come from some type of like facility in Cuyahoga, like Frontline or Norma Hurd building, the YWCA. So now Ms. Linda just trying to figure out how to tap into to just get a little help, I would say. So that's why I'm here today. Once again, I'm Linda Howard, Young Mothers of Cleveland. Thank you.
Dale Snyder.
My name is Daryl Snyder. How y'all doing? All right, just want to change the energy a little bit. I come with good news, actually. Moving forward in my pursuit to help with the cause and fighting recidivism within Cuyahoga County, I would like to thank Council for working with me and helping me move further along in that. In my initiative, as I said, I had a Class B CDL program to train in order to set career paths for people that are returning citizens. Working with Councilman Sweeney, also going to work with Councilman Simon. Councilman Pornell Jones is also helping me talk to Councilwoman Meredith Turner. There is an acquisition of land and community development that I am interested in, and I have gotten some direction. To work with that, and I just want to say thank you. And we're going to continue to work with you. Excuse my little nervousness, but the vision that I have for this is bigger than just a few returning citizens. It's going to have it's going to have a maximum opportunity for any returning citizen. And it's not just isolated to returning citizens, it's any citizen that was affected from a returning citizen. Because as you know, when someone is locked up, the family feels the burden as well as the community. Thank you.
Josiah Corals.
Good afternoon. I'll try to make it brief. My name is Josiah Corals. I'm Director of Organizing Advocacy at Northeast Ohio Coalition for the Homeless. First of all, I'd like to thank, I know many of you have had the opportunity to sit down and actually have conversations with some of the folks who had been coming here in solidarity with Palestinians, and I appreciate you all taking the time for that. As long as it took to get there, glad folks did, and hope that was fruitful. I think we have to be able to hold tension and uncomfortability in order to get the places that we want to go. So with that in mind, there is a lot of uncomfortability and tension right now with things that are happening above our heads. And so what I really call on this body as well, and I'll be doing the same to the city of Cleveland, is to really work with organizations, communities, and each other to try to insulate our communities from, basically fascism that is heading our way, ripping apart our rights, ripping apart our communities, disappearing people off of our streets, suppressing our right to speech, and pulling the rug out from under basic social services and housing funding. We are looking at something that will be catastrophic within a year. So we need to get ahead of this curve. And whatever that requires, whether that is, loosening those purse strings around that sales tax so that we can move some things around. It's not something I'm sure a lot of you want to do, but sometimes we got to do things we don't want to do. Around the sheriff's situation, I think that one thing that it's ironic to say that, we'd have a knee-jerk reaction and not try anything out when, we never try anything out and our knee-jerk reaction is always police. So, even just in my time that I've spent here, I can't count the number of man hours of sheriff's departments just to be in here. And I don't know if that's the best use of resources. Thank you.
Renee Lewis.
Renee Lewis. Good afternoon, council members. I'm standing here not just to defend a public safety program, but to call out a pattern, a dangerous one. There's a push right now to defund DSP, a unit that has, in under 2 years, had more impact in the protection of people and property in downtown Cleveland and surrounding areas that we've seen in decades. And I've been in Cleveland 40 years. So let's talk facts. I won't go ahead and list all their accomplishments because you already know them and it's already been talked about here. But these accomplishments were done with 9 highly trained, skilled men and women and a dog. That's more than a lot of departments do with 90 people or 900 people. But you still want to defund them. Why? You say it's Cleveland's job, but CPD is short hundreds of officers, hundreds. They're not failing, they're drowning. So what do? Do we stand on the sidelines? That's not leadership, it's abandonment. So let's talk about what we do have the budget for, apparently. $4 million for a golf course clubhouse in Parma. $50,000 for deer birth control in South Euclid. $18,000 to pay for parking for council members to attend meetings. All the while, you fight tooth and nail to avoid funding for public safety. None of these projects protects a single citizen. They don't take a gun off the street, and they don't stop violent crime before it happens. And when we talk about budgeting and looking at our minutes today, it seems like we're spending an awful lot of money. We can spend money on grass and golf, but when it comes to citizen safety, suddenly we need to tighten our belts. Thank you.
Daryl Houston.
My name is Daryl Houston. I live in the city of Bedford Heights. I'm quite sure you guys are all familiar with me. I come down here all the time. But one thing I want to point out today is just something very simple. Your safety committee, Mr. Gallagher and Miss Simon, your District 5, how many homicides you got in your district, sir? You know? Young lady, how many homicides you got in your district? You know? You stay out in South Euclid, correct? Okay? Used to stay in the inner city of Cleveland. I come and do business in the inner city of Cleveland. I have a business in the inner city of Cleveland. But I think that you may have a problem with police for some reason, sir, and I'm not understanding that. Because in any community in the United States of America, do you know what the #1 priority is? Safety. And you want to sit here and give these people a hard time, and they're here to protect you? And Miss Simon, a dog park?
Please, I've given
Directed
you
to
some
who, sir?
latitude, but please direct
sorry.
your comments to the council as a
All right.
whole.
Well, as a whole, I don't like hearing about dog parks when I have homeless people right in front of your building. I don't like hearing about dog parks when I had 4 young African-American men be killed in this city within the last 4 months, and we're in 4 months of a new year. I don't like sitting here hearing you guys bicker about Brown stadiums. That's a football. That's a sport. We got real issues in this community that you guys need to really be addressing. And I'm going to start pulling public records and figure out what you're doing and what you're not doing. If I catch your hand in the cookie jar, it's mine. And I'm going to promise you that, okay? And I don't like talking to the whole body. I want to single out the people. That's the problem. But I will talk to the whole body because the whole body is not responsible. But I would like to thank one councilman for stepping up and saying no and wanting public safety. And this community is paying attention to that particular councilman. This community is paying attention to the other particular councilman. Thank you.
Stephen Lumis.
He's a fan. Good evening, folks. My name's Steve Lumis. I'm a 32-year veteran of the Cleveland Police Department. I am not speaking for the Cleveland Police Department. In fact, I took the day off today to come here and address you. I currently work in the homicide unit. We have 28 homicides this year alone. We average 130 to 170 homicides a year. We are dramatically understaffed. And I've lived in Cleveland my whole life. I have kids in this city. We cannot do it. The Cleveland Police Department cannot do it down there. We do not have the resources to do it. And the Cuyahoga County Sheriff's Department, when they started this downtown services unit or downtown patrol, remarkable effort, remarkable. And let me tell you why. And then I got a couple things to educate folks on. We're part of the consent decree. The city of Cleveland is part of the consent decree. That has nothing to do with these guys. That's why they're so effective and we're not, because they will not let a Dodge Charger do donuts around them in Playhouse Square, where we have to because of this consent decree. They will not let cars come down here with blacked out windshields on any day or night that they're working. We've had one shooting while they're on shift. One shooting in downtown Cleveland when they're on shift. I have 4 homicides within 3 blocks of this area right here when they're not working, all right? They're a presence, and that's what we need. I deal with witnesses, I deal with victims' families, I deal with all kinds of tragedy in the city of Cleveland on a daily basis. And I can tell you without question that the thugs that I deal with are afraid to come down here because these guys are there, okay? They take that into consideration.
Time, please.
Mr. President.
Scott Meyer.
How you doing? Hello, my name is Scott Meyer, and I have the honor and privilege of being the chief of the Euclid Police Department. I'm here today to respectfully voice my opposition to Resolution 2025-0151. I first want to give my support to Sheriff Patel and the Cuyahoga County Sheriff's Office. They have been a great law enforcement partner. I want to thank them for their unwavering support. In May of '24, Sheriff's deputies handled an entire 24-hour period of law enforcement responsibilities for the Euclid Police Department. This was done so that our officers could attend the funeral services for Euclid Police Officer Jacob Durbin, who was murdered while in the line of duty. Deputies have also assisted Euclid officers with keeping the peace and order during several Euclid High School football home games. Their assistance was highly professional and was much appreciated by our residents. Euclid, like many communities, has experienced an increase in gun and violent criminal activity. Far too many of our citizens are being killed or injured as a result of this violence. Not all parts of our communities face the same risk of victimization. The most vulnerable segments of our communities deserve the same level of committed, professional, caring police services as our most affluent communities. As part of the Euclid Police Department's multifaceted approach to address violent crime, and in particular gun crime, I encourage our officers to make removing illicit firearms off our streets a top priority. Proactive policing is the key to this strategy. This approach has proven very effective for us. The Cuyahoga County Sheriff's Downtown Safety Patrol Unit has proven its effectiveness in reducing crime, and in particular violent crime. I caution that defunding this unit will have a chilling effect on all of the gains in crime reduction that this unit is responsible for. The residents, businesses, and visitors will feel this. Those that choose to create chaos and to inflict violence on others will also feel this. They may choose to take advantage of this and see it as an opportunity to offend with a reduced likelihood of police intervention. This resolution sends the wrong message and takes us in the wrong direction. Thank you.
Mike Bachmiller.
Hello, my name is Mike Bachmiller. I'm the Director of Community Partnerships at Canopy Child Advocacy Center. I'm here because the next 8 days are the last days of Child Abuse Prevention Month. I'm just here to remind the council of the importance of having a coordinated, multidisciplinary response to child abuse and neglect. Some of what we've already heard is a result of people who have not had that access when they were younger, very likely. I know Vice President Conwell and President Miller have received invitations from our executive director. I've also emailed the rest of the council to invite everybody to come see Canopy. So I wanted to come in person. For anybody who has not been to Canopy yet, to please contact me. We'll be happy to explain our coordinated multidisciplinary response to child abuse and neglect. We also want to make this an annual thing. I'm here because I'd like for Canopy and for children and families who experience child abuse and neglect to not end up in the back of everybody's minds and to be a little bit more in the middle and the front of everybody's minds. I'm going to leave some info cards that I brought with the clerk for each of you to keep just as a reminder for the services that Canopy offers to our families. Thank you very much.
Edward Lince.
Good evening, Council. I am Lieutenant Edward Lince, Vice President of Cleveland Lodge 8, Fraternal Order of Police. I'm here today to voice our concerns regarding Resolution R 2025-0151 and the impact of eliminating the funding for Cuyahoga County Sheriff Downtown Safety Patrol Unit. The patrol unit, in partnership with the Cleveland Division of Police, has had significant impact on the safety and security of residents and visitors alike to the downtown area. To eliminate these patrols would be detrimental to the advances gained in recent years. Increased law enforcement visibility, enforcement actions are a necessary fundamental element in protecting our citizens. This is a critical cost of business for any government entity. And frankly, with the results that we have seen, it's money well spent. Together, we can make downtown Cleveland a true and thriving destination neighborhood. But if people don't feel safe, they won't come to Cleveland. They won't support our businesses. Ultimately, it will impact the financial stability of the city and Cuyahoga County. Cleveland Lodge FOP 8 strongly opposes any reduction in law enforcement partnerships, especially Resolution 2025-0151, and we encourage you to reject this resolution. Thank you for your time and allowing us to be heard on this issue.
Angela Huggins.
Good evening. Angela Huggins is my name. I came down to share a memory with you guys. From listening here today, you guys have some decisions. They're pretty hard for you guys, I'm sure. But the memory that I wanted was a man named Winston Willis. At one time, he was called the king of Cleveland city streets. He owned the property from 55th on Euclid Avenue all the way up to 107th at one time. That property, he never sold it. But right now, Cleveland Clinic has built on it. And the community was thriving. It was at a time that he purchased, he came from another state. At the time he purchased this property, Cleveland was in a mess. There was the riots going on. So the people who owned these properties picked up their stuff and left the city, and he purchased these properties, which now the Cleveland Clinic has taken possession of. He never sold it. That's up to you guys to go and research and find out if it's ever been bought, because you've built Midtown on it. You have W.O. Walker Building, which sat there for years vacant. That was his building that they bulldozed. You can purchase his book and read all of this yourself, and don't AI it, because AI only gives you back what somebody has already put in it, and this is not an AI. So it's just, the community was coming up at the time in the 70s and early 80s. And I myself even worked at one of his businesses that he owned over there between 105 and 107th. And I worked for him twice. So it was an upcoming community, and all of a sudden now the city of Cleveland no longer has residents in that area. I don't know where everybody has gone. Maybe they're out in the suburbs now, but this book should be titled The Beginning Destruction of the City of Cleveland.
Council members, you received a letter from the Fraternal Order of Police, Captain James O'Malley, opposing Resolution 2025-0151, which was distributed to you today. That concludes the public comments portion for today's meeting.
Thank you very much, Andrea. The next item on the agenda is the approval of minutes. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes from the April 8th, 2025 Committee of the Whole meeting and regular meeting?
So moved.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The minutes are approved. I would now ask if there is a motion to excuse Council Member Mark Castleberry from today's meeting.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No,
The,
I just wanted, for the record, he's taking care of his wife, so it's nothing more important than that.
right, that is nothing more important than that. Okay, thank you. Next item on the agenda is announcements from the council president, and I have two. The first is that I would like to let the public know that there are changes coming to the attached 900 Prospect Garage. Beginning May 1st, visitor parking will now be validated at the 900 Prospect Avenue Garage only by utilizing the Metropolis parking app. Parking for those attending council meetings will continue to be validated. Attendees will be required to scan a QR code available in council chambers and will be asked to create a Metropolis account if they do not already have one. They will then be asked to enter their license plate information for the parking to be validated. While QR codes will also be available in the parking garage, Using the code here in council chambers is the only way to receive parking validation for that day's meeting. The first regular council meeting with this change in effect will be on May 13th, 2025. We do not own the parking garage, and this system is managed by Metropolis, a non-county agency. Therefore, you will be responsible for the cost of parking on council meeting days if you are unable to use this online parking service. For the second item, I'm going to present a proclamation.
Is there a representative here from the Ohio Laborers Employers Cooperation and Education Trust?
So I would like to announce to everybody that this week, the week of April 21st to April 25th, 2025, is National Work Zone Awareness Week. We're entering the construction season, and there's accidents every year because people are speeding or otherwise not giving proper attention and caution in construction zones. And we just want to take advantage of this week to call that to everybody's attention. And so I would like to present this proclamation declaring this week to be National Work Zone Awareness Week in Cuyahoga County, and present it to Anthony and ask if you have any further comments.
All right, come on. Good job.
Anthony, if you could speak into the microphone, please.
President Miller and council, thank you very much. We appreciate it. It is road work season. We just ask that you please respect the zones and drive like your kids work there. Thank you.
Thank you. 816.
Thank you very much, everybody. I would now like to call upon our county executive for his comments.
Thank you, Council President, and good evening, members of council. As was said by our visitor from Canopy, and we thank them for their work, April is Child Abuse Prevention Month. Tomorrow we'll be marching in support of our kids. Welcome you to march with us from the Jane Edna Hunter headquarters at 10:30. We'll line up there and march to the county HQ in support of our most vulnerable, our kids. Speaking of Jane Edna Hunter, we are very proud, some of you joined us for the groundbreaking of the Hope Campus on April 11th, where we are in the process of opening 58 units of dignified housing for, again, our kids who've been most vulnerable, and many of them staying with us at the Jane Edna Hunter building. I want to thank early ARPA support from council members. I know, Councilman Sweeney, you were a supporter early on in the ARPA dollars, and appreciate Council President and Vice Presidents Miller and Conwell being with us, as well as other council members the other day. If we can give you a view of the Hope Campus, I'd like to work with you. It's the centers that's operating it for us, but we're really proud of the partnership. You'll see on the campus daytime school activities in partnership with the Cleveland Metropolitan School District. You'll see on campus health services, mental health services. We're going to help get kids well, and that's an all-in effort with this county and this county council. Again, thank you. And I want to thank the community for helping us secure $14 million for this facility. We dialed for dollars from the Cleveland Foundation, the Gunn Foundation, the Mandel Foundation, and many more private philanthropic foundations and family foundations. Medical Mutual came in at a significant amount of money and got us kickstarted on this campaign. And this is going to be a support also for our law enforcement to give them resources to know where to take our kids to help them heal. So I thank the network of partners, including law enforcement, in this effort. Also, I want to recognize in Child Abuse Prevention Month, it's the 10th anniversary of the Family Justice Center, just down the street on East 12th Street. Angels in our midst that work for Cuyahoga County help families that experience trauma, death, violence in their families recuperate and heal. So hats off to the Family Justice Center and the staff at county that staffs that for their 10 years of work. I want to also recognize, as was mentioned earlier, it is Community Reentry Month. Charles C., who a lot of you know, will be speaking at the City Club this Friday. We look forward to that. Our work's not done, but really appreciate the work of our Community Reentry Office, Simeon Best, and his work to work with us on our jail planning on how, again, we return persons to community with more skills and in a better place than as they came in. I want to say a shout out. I'm believing my council members, my partners also see this as tricky for us, but the state budget, I'm going to urge state, Senate, and House to reconsider, and the governor, the trigger mechanism that will trigger if there's a downfall in Medicaid benefits from the federal government. If there's a penny of that budget that goes down, it will trigger an effect on our county residents who were covered in the 2014 Medicaid expansion. Roughly 100,000 residents came into the fold of Medicaid health care. This is working families, the working poor, that get their health care through Medicaid. I want to say to anybody who listened downstate, do not pull the trigger just because the federal government takes down the dollar amount. We do not have to pull that trigger on 100,000 Cuyahoga residents, which again will fall on our soldiers, our shoulders in terms of the human services that we provide to them. So I plead to the state of Ohio to think through one word. That word in the state legislation is shall trigger. Turn it to may, and let's have a conversation about what we could actually do to help families remain insured. I want to thank those who testified in favor of our downtown safety patrol tonight. I hope that we can work through a resolution to rest the resolution, the legislation that's in front of you, 2025-0151. As has been said, in the summer of 2023, and I've been here to experience this with Sheriff Harry Patel and his deputies who work the downtown safety patrol, we had, in a 3-week period in the city of Cleveland, over 20 shootings in the summer of 2023. Since the formation of the Downtown Safety Patrol, there has been one on their watch, on the clock, in the Thursdays through Sunday mornings, Thursday evening through Sunday mornings, and the shifts that they provide coverage. Our DSP, the Downtown Safety Patrol, in 22 months has seized 291 illegally possessed firearms. I've sent pictures of some of those firearms to some of you, and you've seen them. And you see when an AR-15 is in somebody's hands that's coming downtown with it, they're not up to any good on that any given night. As was said, 65 of the guns of the 291 that were legally possessed were connected to violent crimes. I want to thank the deputies, the sergeant, the canine, who helped save lives in the course of their service of the 22 months that they have seized 291 illegally held guns. They are saving lives. We received letters of support, and you heard from some of them tonight, from the cities of Lakewood, the cities of Euclid, the CPPA, FOP Lodge 8, and residents. Residents, one of whom you heard from tonight, and one whom I have a letter, who literally our DSP helped avert a suicide. And go talk to him and hear his story. I just want to say that I'm proud of this DSP. This unit goes beyond deploying in downtown. They help our community suburbs and our mayors with events, festivals, gathering, and when they need their support, they're there, as was said by the chief of Euclid tonight. This unit matters. Council, I'm asking you to rethink Resolution 2025-0151, which would do away with their unit, and our public safety depends on this unit. As I look at the legislation, Section 2 specifically, and the words say, specifically targeted in or around downtown area within the city of Cleveland. I ask you and I ask us to all consider, since when have we targeted legislation at a community specifically opposing their public safety? I've spoken with many of our public officials from the city of Cleveland today and yesterday. I've spoken with many of our residents who live downtown and work downtown like we all do. I want to thank the DSP for their work. I urge you to continue to support their work, which frankly, the bang for the buck far outweighs the cost. The benefits far outweigh the costs. In closing, I want to thank the Cleveland Cavaliers. They've been with us in what they know as a team sport to avert gun violence in our community. You're going to hear more from them, but they've been with us as well. And as they have a game tomorrow night, I want to wish them well and congratulations thus far and good luck to the Cleveland Cavaliers. But tonight, most specifically in my comments, I want to thank the Downtown Safety Patrol deputies, the sergeant, and the K-9 unit, and I want to thank the Sheriff's Department team that's here with us tonight for their work, and I want to thank those who came to testify on their behalf. Our officers throughout the region realize this is really a team effort to keep our public safe. Thank you, and I urge you to continue to reconsider Resolution 0151.
Thank you, Executive Romanine. Legislation.
Mr. President, I would like point of order and have an opportunity to respond to the executive who spoke to legislation, or I can wait till after.
You may proceed.
Thank you so much. It's good to see you, Executive. In fact, I think I want to address the comments made today, and of course, I appreciate the sheriff people here today and the work they've done. But I think what people are missing with this legislation, it's not a matter of whether this is a worthy endeavor. It's not a matter of whether they're effective in what they're doing. The question is whether the county should assume the responsibility of the city of Cleveland's role in patrolling and keep its own streets safe. That's the issue before us. And I also want to say, I forgot who said it, maybe Mr. Lince, about the critical cost of business, a government entity. We need to look at the city of Cleveland's role in this and why the county has stepped in, has, I believe, taken police officers who were working for the city of Cleveland and now have come here, and the county is now assuming 100% of the liability. It is not subject to the consent decree, which is there for, I think, a worthy reason. All this legislation does, and I think my colleagues who are supporting it, is to take a step back, take a pause, take a look at what the cost-benefit analysis is for the county. We've lost 2 lives as a result of this unit's involvement. To what extent, I don't know. But we've not heard one thing about the victims, and I say victims plural. We have Miss Westmoreland minding her own business, going to work, 2 children, ejected from her car, thrown from a bridge, survived for 2 weeks and died. Not once from one person in this room have I heard anybody mention her name. Not once. What about Mr. Nigel, who was driving the car that happened to turn on red or had tinted windows, dead? Good or bad, indifferent, what happened that night? Those are 2 lives lost. Many saved, I hear. But the question is, should the county assume this liability? Because our liability is going to be going up. And that's the only question before us. That's it. And I think as leaders, we should take an opportunity to examine this, look at the numbers, look at the cost, look at the benefit. And for us to just ignore what happened, I think is lacking leadership. So I think we need this time, this space to take a look at this program that frankly has been scrutinized by committee members for over a year and a half and brought up many issues that now we're coming to deal with in a real life way. So I appreciate this moment to explain all that we want as a pause. And I think we owe that to the community of Cuyahoga County.
Councilman Hauser.
I guess I'll speak now as well. I prepared a statement. I just want to say I'm looking forward to the dialogue that I'm sure is to take place around this downtown patrol, safety patrol. I truly appreciate everyone's perspective and appreciate the sheriff's team for having productive conversations on this work. I'm still in the gathering stage of this process, but my priority is to ensure that we have the right policies and practices in place to protect not only our county sheriff's department, but as well as the residents of Cuyahoga County. Thank you.
Councilman Sweeney.
Thank you, Mr. President, to my colleagues. I'm just curious with the pause that we're talking about. Who's going to do the assessment, would you say, to the sponsors of the legislation? Actually, because we're asking for a pause, we have to assess it. Who's going to do that assessment? I'm just curious.
To look at the cost of this?
The assessment
And
of the
assessment of the
program, through the
cost? Well, are you asking, who are you asking, Mr. Sweeney?
I said the three sponsors, or the sponsors of the
Okay,
legislation.
we could discuss this offline if you want to get the detail of this, Mr.
I would just like a simple
Sweeney.
answer off the top of your head. You want it to
Well, we're going to
assess.
start with the committee to oversee it.
Mr. Chair.
Let's,
Right.
may I request, please, if anyone has a statement, please make a statement, but we're going to discuss this in the committee of the whole on May 13th, and we'll have plenty of time to get into the details of the legislation.
Absolutely, but Mr. President, if I could be so bold, I will acquiesce, but when the county executive says something and there's a response, when somebody else says something, we could have a response. So we can control it any way you want. I will acquiesce to your wishes, but I want to make sure that we all are playing by the same rules.
Mr. President, when he says you're not making a response, Councilman Sweeney, you're asking questions on the floor. That's different. So I'm going to leave it at that.
I beg to differ. Thank you.
You don't see a difference between questions and statements? Okay,
I think so.
okay, I figured.
Want to go that way?
I don't want to go
Mr.
anywhere.
Chairman, the definition between.
Please, one
I
at a
asked-
time. So, to my colleague, Mr. Councilman, and to my other colleague, even if you want to ask a question and if include a question in your statement, that's okay. And if when you finish, your colleague wishes to respond to it, that would be fine. But we can't have this back and forth going with people talking over each other.
I will respect the chair. Thank you.
Councilman Gallagher.
Thank you, Mr. President. I think this is a learning moment since the inception of the Downtown Safety Patrol, which we were never told about, and now I'm being told that the executive team was never told about. It just appeared. It's never been put into a budget, which has always been a concern and should be a concern for every single person in this room. There have been other concerns addressed in the Safety Committee. Time and time and time again, we ask questions. We're in the process of pulling all the clips of all the times that the Downtown Safety Patrol came up in committee, where we asked questions and never got answers from anyone. From anyone. It was never appropriated. It was never funded. And if I hear one more time that we're defunding something that was never funded, we're going to go in a different direction. There's not one member of this council, not one, that has said that they want to disband it. We want to fund it properly. And it's not. We have a fiduciary duty to the taxpayers of Cuyahoga County, and that's what we're doing. Ideally, what we would like to do, and I think I speak for a majority of the members of this council, is to reinstitute the impact unit, which had an impact in every community in Cuyahoga County. Ideally, if we can find a partner in the city of Cleveland that would come in and help us fund the Downtown Cleveland Safety Patrol, we need help. We are, I'm told, in a fiduciary dilemma. We're $25 million in the hole. I need help. We need help from a partner that we don't have right now. And we would like Cleveland to partner with us. We don't have the money. It was never budgeted. Go to your homes. You have no money in the bank. Do you go buy groceries? You don't. You have to plan. And that's what we're trying to do. So ideally, if we can get Cleveland in the next 2 weeks to come to the table, meet with us, help us out financially with the Downtown Safety Patrol in some fashion. We're extending $1.4 million outside the budget Would it be too much, Mr. Executive, to ask Cleveland to pay for half of that to maintain this with the sweetener of us within the year finding the money to reinstitute the impact unit? That's a double win for everybody. So is it too much to ask the city of Cleveland to come to the table to help us out financially? That's the question I have. But we're going to pull all the clips, and you're going to see probably an hour's worth of discussion in committee about the Downtown Safety Patrol where we've asked questions and got no answers. And now we're at a point where we had a tragic situation predicted, unfortunately, by me 2-3 months ago. And some people have said this is knee-jerk. You're probably right. We probably knee-jerked this. But we have 2 citizens dead. One individual that had nothing to do with nothing. And our hearts go out to her. And Councilwoman Simon's right. No one mentions her name. No one. That's despicable. So my challenge to the executive is, let's get Cleveland to the table. Can we get them to help us out? Can we maintain this? Can we deal with the legalities of who's responsible?
Since
And
you
I
asked the
think
question,
within 2 weeks, we could have this
since
all
you asked the
settled.
question, since you asked the question, one, and I said to Council President on Thursday, happy to meet with you to understand the underlying issues at hand. You just identified it. You want the city of Cleveland at the table. You also just said it's knee-jerk legislation. And I say to you, why suspend the DSP with knee-jerk legislation when your real motivation is to get equity in the game from the city of Cleveland? You might as well have said that to us rather than introduce legislation that handicaps these guys who had nothing to do with that. I think the issue that you put on the table is it is knee-jerk, and you want them at the table, and I've already offered to convene any meeting you guys want.
Then
But
let's
that's
do
why
it.
I say pull this legislation.
Let's go. Good job.
Don't suspend the DSP, suspend the legislation.
One at a time.
Mr. President, just one more minute, if I can. I'm not going to ask
no.
a question. No, I'd like to address this. The executive wants to meet with us to learn about our concerns. Well, we've been expressing concerns at committee meetings, the safety committee meeting, for over a year. And your staff sits in there, people from your administration sits in there. You know full well, if you don't know what we've been talking about, then I'm concerned, because there's a reason people sit at that desk. In the past, executives, they'd sit there and they would have conversations with the executive about what the concerns of council is. So I'm surprised that you're now asking for our concerns when every committee meeting we talk about it and we express it to the sheriff and your team. And now I am going to not agree with my
Door's always
colleague.
open.
This is not a knee-jerk reaction from me, and you'll see the clips from our meeting. Why this has been a concern, why I said we're going to be stuck with a huge amount of liability because of this. We're going to have 2 lawsuits. We're going to have a risk management, our insurance premiums go up, and we are allowing the city to bypass the consent decree. And those are concerns I've expressed over and over and over again. So, you know what? You've known about those concerns. The sheriff has known about those concerns. And now the concern of my colleague Gallagher, 2 people are dead. And we'll look at the montage. So yes, we've been expressing our concern, and no, this is not knee-jerk. And taking a 2-week pause, a month pause, I don't think is crippling anybody. And let the city of Cleveland step up and maybe, patrol their own streets for these 4 weeks.
Okay, I'm gonna return to Councilman Sweeney, and Councilman Sweeney is going to be able to make a statement, and if he wants to include a question to the prime sponsor, Ms. Simon, he may do so. And I asked Ms. Simon to please let Councilman Sweeney finish whatever he has to say, and then if you would like to respond, please do so. Councilman Sweeney.
Way to take control, my council president. I have no questions. I got one statement, people saying just stuff. I didn't read the full legislation yet because it hasn't been introduced. But there's not one word about pause. It says prohibit, and we've been talking about pause. So I look forward to full discussion as these things move forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Council President.
Thank you, Dan.
Okay, Legislation introduced by council. Consideration of resolutions of council for first reading and referral to committee.
Resolution 2025-0148, awarding a total sum not to exceed $8,000 to the City of Fairview Park for the Trifold Stop Sign Project from the District 3 ARPA Community Grant Fund.
Refer to the Public Safety and Justice Affairs Committee.
Resolution 2025-0149, awarding a total sum not to exceed $32,500 to the Cleveland Foundry for the purpose of providing camp scholarships to Cleveland students from the District 8 ARPA Community Grant Fund.
Refer to the Education, Environment, and Sustainability Committee.
Resolution 2025-0150, awarding a total sum not to exceed $190,000 to the Western Reserve Land Conservancy for the French Creek Headwaters Preserve Project from the District 11 ARPA Community Grant Fund.
Refer to the Education, Environment, and Sustainability Committee.
Resolution 2025-0151, amending the 2024-2025 biennial operating budget for 2025 to prohibit the use of appropriated or other funds for the purpose of supporting the Cuyahoga County Sheriff's Downtown Safety Patrol Unit.
Refer to the Committee of the Whole.
Resolution 2025-0152, adopting various changes to the Cuyahoga County Non-Bargaining Classification Plan.
Refer to the Human Resources Appointments and Equity Committee. Committee report and consideration of resolution of council for second reading.
Resolution 2025-0115, awarding a total sum not to exceed $20,000 to the Kings and Queens of Art for the Overcoming Darkness and Defying Stereotypes project from the District 7 ARPA Community Grant Fund.
This item will move to the May 13th, 2025 council agenda for consideration for third reading adoption. Consideration of resolutions of council for third reading adoption.
Resolution 2025-0099, awarding a total sum not to exceed $50,000 to the Beat the Streets Cleveland for the Slavic Village Youth Facility Project from the District 7 ARPA Community Grant Fund.
I am familiar with this great organization.
Is there a motion to adopt?
Motion.
Second.
Move to adopt.
Please proceed.
I'm sorry. I was just going to say I'm familiar with this organization, but I will defer to my colleague, Councilwoman Conwell, to speak to this item.
All right, thank you, Councilman, through the chair and to my colleagues. This is an organization that it's in Slavic Village, and it's across the street from Boys and Girls Club. And Boys and Girls Club, many of us are familiar with what they do for children and after-school programming. This is across the street in Slavic Village, and they have kind of worked together with Boys and Girls Club, and they do wrestling. And they have a nice facility. They're trying to renovate the inside so they can add classroom and other things, but they also wrestling free to any student in Cuyahoga County. And we know as a community, there's not many things that are free for students to participate in after school. So I thought this was a very good use of our funds to assist them with continuing to stay off the streets and be positive.
Any further discussion? Hearing none.
Add my name to the resolution.
Please add the councilman's name.
And Turner.
And Turner.
And I just want to share, Mr. President, I had Pernell Jones came out and visited, as well as the administrator from Health and Human Services came out and toured what the organization does.
Thank you. All those in favor of the resolution, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Resolution is adopted.
Clarification of who seconded the motion, please.
Sweeney.
Thank you. Resolution 2025-0113, awarding a total sum not to exceed $15,000 to the Cleveland Restoration Society for the East Cleveland Heritage Home Program from the District 2 and 3 ARPA Community Grant Funds.
So moved.
Second.
I'd like to turn this over to the District 10 councilperson.
This resolution will enable the city of East Cleveland to participate in the Heritage Home Program. This will allow East Cleveland residents to apply for much-needed funding and also provide technical assistance for their homes. I want to, on behalf of the residents, I want to personally thank Council President Miller as well as Councilman Sweeney for their funding support for this program, and I ask for my colleagues' support.
I would just add that I'm pleased to provide this assistance and believe that it will enable basic organizational infrastructure to be built to serve the housing needs in East Cleveland. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolution is adopted.
Through the chair, would you add my name?
Okay. Resolution 2025-0114, awarding a total sum not to exceed $125,000 to the Village of Walton Hills for the Walton Hills Event Center and Bay Storage Facility roof replacement from the District 6 ARPA Community Grant Fund.
Move to adopt.
Second.
This item was heard in committee on April 14th, and I will let my colleague, Councilman Schlepper, speak to this item.
Sorry about that. The Village of Walton Hills had gotten an award of ARPA dollars for a project that came in significantly under budget. So rather than pull those funds and allocate elsewhere, we allowed them to keep those funds remaining for reallocation. And this is going to support the replacement of a roof and event center. And this is also part of their administrative facility. So this is a critical need for them. So I encourage my colleagues to support this.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Resolution is adopted.
Resolution 2025-0116, adopting various changes to the Cuyahoga County non-bargaining classification plan.
So moved.
Second.
This was heard in the HR and Appointments Committee, unanimously supported, so I'd ask my rest of my colleagues to support this piece of legislation.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolution is adopted. Legislation introduced by executive. Consideration of resolutions for first reading adoption under suspension of the rules. May I have a motion to suspend the rules requiring referral to committee and 3 readings?
Mr. President, I move to suspend the rules.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion on the suspension? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The rules are suspended.
Resolution 2025-0153, amending the 2024-2025 biennial operating budget for 2025 by providing for additional fiscal appropriations, appropriation transfers, and cash transfers.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Okay. I believe there is a substitute on this
Thank
item.
you. This resolution is our routine additional appropriations, cash transfers, and appropriation transfers. This week's fiscal agenda is mostly comprised of grants. However, we do have a proposed substitute. Item B, under the cash transfers, should be $3 million instead of $3,800,000. The $3 million accurately reflects the most recent gateway deal that was approved by this body. I'll move the proposed substitute to amend R 2025-0153 to reduce item B under the cash transfers from 3.8 mil to 3 mil.
Is there a second?
Who's second, please?
Okay. So it's been moved and seconded. Any discussion on the proposed substitute? Hearing none. All those in favor of accepting the proposed substitute to make a diversion before the council, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The substitute is accepted. Any further discussion on the resolution as substituted? Hearing none, all those in favor of adopting the resolution on its merits as substituted, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The resolution is adopted.
Resolution 2024-0154, accepting the report containing findings and recommendations of fact finder Daniel Zeiser regarding negotiations between Cuyahoga County and Ohio Patrolmen's Benevolent Association representing approximately 6 employees in the classification of Deputy Sheriff Lieutenant in the Sheriff's Department for a collective bargaining agreement for the period January 1st, 2025 through December 31st, 2027 at the Cuyahoga County Sheriff's Department.
Move to adopt.
Second.
This item was discussed in executive session. All those in favor of adopting the resolution, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Resolution is adopted. No. 1 no, Councilwoman Conwell.
Resolution 2025-0155, accepting the report containing findings and recommendations of fact finder Jerry Selman regarding negotiations between Cuyahoga County and the International Union United Automobile, Aerospace, and Agricultural Implement Workers of America, UAW, Region 2-B, Local 70, for a collective bargaining agreement covering approximately 38 employees in the classification of Corrections Officer, Corporal at the Cuyahoga County Sheriff's Department.
Move to adopt.
Second.
This item was also discussed in executive session. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The resolution is adopted. Consideration of resolutions for first reading and referral to committee.
Resolution 2025-0156, confirming the county executive's reappointment of E. Harry Walker, M.D., to serve on the Metro Health System Board of Trustees for the term March 5th, 2025 through March 4th, 2031.
Refer to the Human Resources Appointments and Equity Committee.
Resolution 2025-0157, confirming the county executive's reappointment of Paul Hurdick to serve on the Cleveland-Cuyahoga County Workforce Development Board for the term July 1st, 2025 through June 30th, 2028.
Refer to Human Resources.
Resolution 2025-0158, authorizing a real estate purchase agreement with Kennecott Brothers Company or its designee in the amount not to exceed $157,000 for the purchase of permanent parcel number 542-22023, totaling approximately 0.982 acres in the city of Garfield Heights, Ohio, with access to Granger Road.
Refer to the Public Safety and Justice Affairs Committee.
Resolution 2025-0159, authorizing an amendment to a contract with Project Management Consultants, LLC, for owners' representative services in connection with the Cuyahoga County Corrections Center, formerly known as the Justice Center Complex Project, for the period January 9th, 2019 through May 31st, 2025, to extend the time period to July 31st, 2029, to change the scope of services, and for additional funds in the amount not to exceed $4,815,000, effective upon signature of all parties.
Refer to Public Safety.
Resolution 2025-0160, authorizing an amendment to a contract with Helmuth Obata Kassabaum, P.C., for Criteria Architect Services for the Cuyahoga County Corrections Center, to change the scope of services and for additional funds in the amount not to exceed $5,080,000, effective upon signature of all parties.
Refer to Public Safety.
Resolution 2025-0161, making awards on requisition RQ 15289 to various providers in the total amount not to exceed $900,000 for construction management support services and adjunct services on a task order basis, effective upon signature of all parties for a period of 3 years for the vendors A through B.
Refer to the Public Works Procurement and Contracting Committee.
Resolution 2025-0162, authorizing a contract with CHN Housing Capital in the amount not to exceed $872,431 for administration of the Down Payment Assistance Program to eligible homeowners home buyers in Cuyahoga urban county communities and the city of Parma for the period May 1st, 2025 through April 30th, 2027.
Refer to the Community Development and Housing Committee.
Resolution 2025-0163, making awards on requisition 15297 to various providers in the total amount not to exceed $9,825,469.20 for community-based services to support at-risk children and families in Cuyahoga County for the period April 1st, 2025 through March 31st, 2027, A through J, that's listed on the agenda.
Refer to the Health, Human Services, and Aging Committee.
Resolution 2025-0164, authorizing a revenue-generating agreement with the Alcohol, Drug Addiction, and Mental Health Services Board of Cuyahoga County in the anticipated amount not to exceed $775,000 for the Infant and Early Childhood Mental Health Program for the period January 1st, 2025 through December 31st, 2025.
Refer to the Education, Environment, and Sustainability Committee.
Resolution 2025-0165, authorizing a contract with Mental Health Services for Homeless Persons, Inc., doing business as Frontline Service in the amount not to exceed $2,075,978 to operate the assessment and administrative functions of coordinated intake for the Cleveland-Cuyahoga Continuum of Care for the period February 1st, 2025 through January 31st, 2027.
Refer to the Health, Human Services, and Aging Committee.
Resolution 2025-0166, authorizing the issuance and sale of Cuyahoga County, Ohio Capital Improvement Notes, Series 2025, in the maximum amount of $41,500,000 for the purposes of costs of capital projects for county correction center facilities, which shall include the cost of acquiring, including acquiring land and interest in land, constructing, reconstructing, rehabilitating, remodeling, renovating, enlarging, improving, furnishing, and equipping facilities. Authorizing the signing and delivery of note of purchase agreement or term sheet related to the sale of the Series 2025 notes and related agreements and certificates.
Refer to the Public Safety and Justice Affairs Committee. Committee reports and consideration of resolutions for second reading. Each of these items, after being read into the record, will move to the May 13th, 2025 Council agenda for consideration for third reading adoption.
Resolution 2025-0144, authorizing an economic development loan in the amount not to exceed $2 million to Bridgeworks LLC or its designee to assist with funding projects cost of a place-based mixed-use development project located at the northeast corner of West 25th Street and Detroit Avenue at 2429 Superior Viaduct in the city of Cleveland, which will include construction of 219 units of housing, reactivating space near public investments. Resolution 2025-0145, authorizing a grant incentive agreement with Canon Healthcare USA, Inc., in the amount not to exceed $1,471,526.02 to establish their headquarters at 10500 Cedar Avenue in the city of Cleveland for the period May 13th, 2025 through May 12th, 2035. Resolution 2025-0146, authorizing an economic development loan in the amount not to exceed $920,800 to Cantonese Classics Seafood, Inc., or its designee, to create productive reuse of 41,469 square feet of space in the former Cleveland Food Bank facility located at 15500 South Waterloo Road in the city of Cleveland.
Can you add my name?
Please add the councilman's name. Committee reports and consideration of resolutions for second reading adoption under suspension of the rules. May I have a motion to suspend the rule requiring a third reading?
Mr. President, I move to suspend that rule.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion on the suspension? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The rules are suspended.
Resolution 2025-0123, confirming the county executive's appointment of Alan K. Neville to serve on the City of Cleveland, Cuyahoga County Workforce Development Board for an unexpired term ending June 30th, 2026.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Neville presented to the HR and Appointment Committee. He was passed unanimously, and I ask the rest of my colleagues to vote in the affirmative to confirm him.
All those in favor of adoption, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolution is adopted.
Resolution 2025-0134, confirming the county executive's appointment of Norman A. Bliss to serve on the Alcohol, Drug Addiction, and Mental Health Services Board of Cuyahoga County for an unexpired term ending June 30th, 2025, and for a term July 1st, 2025 through June 30th, 2029.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Bliss also presented in front of the HR Committee and Appointment Committee. He was unanimously passed out, and I ask my colleagues to do the same in this full council.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolution is adopted.
Resolution 2025-0135, confirming the county executive's appointment of Hallie R. Israel to serve on the Alcohol, Drug Addiction, and Mental Health Services Board of Cuyahoga County for the term July 1st, 2024 through June 30th, 2028.
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Israel also presented. The Council Committee of HR and Appointments confirmed her unanimously. I ask my colleagues to do the same at this council meeting.
All those in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Resolution is adopted.
Resolution 2024-0136, confirming the county executive's reappointment of Richard C. Perry to serve on the Cuyahoga County Community Improvement Corporation Board of Trustees for the term January 2nd, 2023 through January 1st, 2026.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Perry also presented, and he was unanimously supported. But he also is part of the Pinckney Perry Insurance Company, so he had an opportunity to think about Mr. Pinckney and his longstanding contribution to the city of Cleveland and Cuyahoga County. He was also unanimously approved, and I ask my colleagues to consider doing this evening.
All those in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Resolution is adopted.
Resolution 2025-0137, confirming the county executive's reappointment of Brian E. Hall to serve on the Cuyahoga County Community Improvement Corporation Board of Trustees for the term January 2nd, 2025 through January 1st, 2028.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Mr. Brian E. Hall came before the committee, and he was confirmed. And just on a note, he's been a friend of mine for 25 years, and he is an outstanding individual, and he's going to continue serving on the Community Improvement Board with distinction. So I ask my colleagues to consider validating and confirming him this evening.
All those in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Resolution is adopted.
Resolution 2025-0139, confirming the county executive's appointment of Donna Williams Alexander to serve on the Cuyahoga County Debarment Review Board for the term February 1st, 2022 through January 31st, 2027.
Ms. Williams Alexander also presented.
Is there a motion to
Sorry about that. So moved. Thank you for the second. Ms. Williams Alexander also presented, and she was unanimously confirmed, and I asked my colleagues to do so. And just want to give a shout out to the administration for this Debarment Review Board. It's long overdue to be up and running, and they're going to have an impact because this is the next person on, and they're going to be up and running very soon. So with that editorial note, I'd ask my colleagues to consider confirming Ms. Williams Alexander.
Mr. President, I'd like to add my name and welcome to have finally the board constituted, and hopefully we won't have to hear any cases, but we'll be ready to do it in that event.
And just on that note, I'd like to commend my colleague for leading this charge, and her voice was heard here. Thank you.
Please add Ms. Simon's name. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Resolution is adopted.
Resolution 2025-0140, making an award on requisition 15657 to Katz Construction, Inc., in the amount not to exceed $2,098,198.80 for replacement of Warner Road culvert number C00.20 over Ohio and Erie Canal in the village of Valley View, effective upon signatures of all parties through project completion.
Move to adopt. Eric Mack presented this item in committee. A proposed substitute was presented to make a correction to the funding sources. Eric provided an overview of the modifications and addressed committee members' questions. The project will address required maintenance of the Warner Road culvert in Valley View, and I urge my colleagues to support this item.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Resolution is adopted.
Resolution 2025-0141, making an award on requisition 15653 to Perk Company, Inc., in the amount not to exceed $3,596,117.15 for rehabilitation of Smith Road from Sheldon Road to Pearl Road in the city of Middleburg Heights, effective upon signatures of all parties through project completion.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Eric Mack presented this item in committee as well. The project is for much-needed improvements along Smith Road. The vendor was the lowest competitive bid and met the diversity goals. The project will commence upon the passage of this resolution, and I urge my colleagues to support this item.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Resolution is adopted.
Resolution 2025-0142, authorizing a contract with Gutman Energy, Inc., in the amount not to exceed $2,400,000 for a state contract purchase of fuel for various county vehicles, equipment, and generators, effective upon contract signatures of all parties for the period May 1st, 2025 through September 30th, 2027.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Tom Pavich presented this item in committee. The project is to approve the fuel purchases by the county for vehicles, equipment, and generators. The vendor was selected by the state of Ohio and is a new service provider who has been utilized in other regions of the state without issue. I urge my colleagues to support this item.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Resolution is adopted.
Resolution 2025-0143, amending resolution number R 2023-0372, dated December 5th, 2023, which authorized an economic development loan to Neighborhood Healthcare, Inc., doing business as Neighborhood Family Practice, in the amount not to exceed $700,000 for the renovation of 13027 Lorraine Avenue, Cleveland, to provide various medical, dental, and pharmacy services to people of all ages, regardless of their ability to pay, by extending the resolution sunset date from 12 months to December 31st, 2025, to allow the project to close.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. President and my colleagues, this item was heard in the Economic Development Committee on Monday, April 14th. This legislation will extend the sunset date to the end of this year. Neighborhood Family Practice will renovate the former CVS located on Lorraine Avenue. This family health care facility will provide medication, dental, and pharmacy services to all residents regardless of their ability to pay by providing much-needed health care services. I ask for my colleagues' support in approving this legislation.
Councilman Sweeney.
Thank you. I'd like to have my name added, but also I want to thank my chairman, the Economic Development Committee, my entire council, as well as the executive and his team. This is the greatest reuse of an empty, abandoned CVS. It's right on 130th and Lorraine. It's complete in the strip, and this is what we should be doing with the dollars that we have. So it's a good feel-good moment. So thank you, Mr. President, and thank you, Mr. Chairman.
And I totally agree with Councilman Kelly and Councilman Sweeney's comments, and I would also like my name added.
Mine as well.
Ms.
Thank
Simon.
you.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Resolution is adopted.
Resolution 2025-0147, making an award on requisition 15499 to AmeriCab Transportation, Inc., in the amount not to exceed $8 million for non-emergency transportation services for ambulatory Medicaid-eligible individuals in Cuyahoga County for the period March 1st, 2025 through February 28th, 2027.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Through the chair, this resolution is an ongoing necessity for all Medicaid-eligible individuals. There was a RFP in 2024. There were 4 bids total. AmeriCab Incorporated won the bid. They have served us in previous years. A rate is charged for previous, a rate is charged per full ride. This rate includes fuel, salary, as well as maintenance. This is a 50% federal funded as well as 50% state funded. It is a pass-through funds which are reimbursed. So I ask for my colleagues' support.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Resolution is adopted.
Please add my name. Mr.
Please
Chairman.
add the councilman's name, Councilman Sweeney. Committee report and consideration of a resolution for third reading adoption.
Resolution 2025-0124, confirming the county executive's reappointment of Catherine N. Belk to serve on the City of Cleveland, Cuyahoga County Workforce Development Board for the term July 1st, 2024 through June 30th, 2027.
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Belk also came and presented. She was unanimously passed out of the committee, and we're here today to ask you to confirm her by the entire council.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The resolution is adopted. We now come to the time for our miscellaneous committee reports, and I will start with Councilman Kelly to my right.
Thank you, Mr. President. There'll be no economic development meeting at the next. The HR and Appointment Committee will be decided before Thursday.
Safety Tuesday, 1 o'clock.
We do not have a operations committee meeting scheduled.
And we will decide about HHS being next week.
Public Works Committee will meet Wednesday, April 30th to address the items presented today.
Finance and Budgeting will meet on Monday to hear a presentation from our treasurer regarding the tax assistance program.
Community Development, Monday, 10 a.m.
And Environment Education, Wednesday, the 30th at 3.
Thank you very much for the committee reports. Do we have any miscellaneous business, Councilman Sweeney?
Thank you, Mr. President, and my colleagues. We forgot to thank someone or something, our 20250-143. It's neighborhood family practice. Without them saying they want to come, and they're coming everywhere as much as they can and providing. They're growing when other people are shrinking. So I gave them a shout out and I forgot. And my other business, miscellaneous, way to manage the committee today, or the council meeting. Thank you.
Okay. Any other, Ms. Simon?
Mr. President, I agree with Councilman Sweeney. Thank you for the opportunity to have robust discussion from the council members on this very important item, and I think it's healthy.
Okay,
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Hearing none. No further business before this council. We stand adjourned. Thank you very much, everybody.